All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Monday, March 6th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Should be good to go across all ends here inside our live trading room. Great to see Grant, Michael, and all of us just joining us right now. I got the loud and clear from Mike, so I know I'm good to go there. Great to see all of us, though, otherwise joining us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. I'll tell you what, it's been a bit of an interesting day altogether. Markets have been relatively flat the last hour or so, but that doesn't stop us from making money, right? So the AI trade, it's actually down on the day percentage-wise. It's pulling back now. But let's talk about this trade at least to begin. Great to see Wendy and Brad so far as well. Brad saying so far so good. Love that. So I mapped out my chart here this morning for the AI trade. It was so volatile from the end of last week. How could I not this morning? Well, I was kind of actually under the weather this morning, kind of self-diagnosing on Google. Always fun to do, right? Well, that actually took my attention away from a lot of things outside of AI and one other stock. So I'm happy to say this one ended up treating myself alongside a bunch of us here pretty nicely. Now, I will say, though, I was focused on the UNCY stock more than this out the gate. And with that, I ended up seeing this kind of make the under and over from $27 right here. And I was too chicken to jump in. I thought it was going to pull back a little bit more towards that lower green and just didn't fall far enough. Ended up breaking under and over from 27. From there, ran. Now, from that point, though, as it ended up breaking above the opening print from today, as well as yesterday, as well as Friday's weekly close from the end of last week, roughly around this 28.48, 28.50. I wouldn't have expected such a clean pop. So it ended up running up really well. Well, let me ask all of us here because actually we have class not this week, but coming up. I think it's even in 2 weeks we have the phase 1 class coming up on the 22nd. So we got a little while to class, a little pop quiz for all of us here while we're at it. When a stock breaks above resistance and it runs off of it, resistance should become support. So it ended up holding as support heading into the late morning. I was calling it out here. It led to a pretty sweet entry at the time, but then ended up making a lower high, failed to break higher up towards 30 and pulled back, but it was a good trade for a while it lasted. Now, I ended up bailing out at that point, though, after. Ended up holding a higher low once again from here, and I didn't know if it was going to end up really popping and making the higher high. So I went in from 29. I ended up taking a very tiny loss as it pulled back and stopped me out, but, well, from there, if it's not going to break any higher, there's only one other way it's going to go. So now at this stage, AI, I have no interest in it at this point. You know, if it was closer to the highs as a long, I'd be interested in it. It's hard to borrow on TradeStation. If you can get shares to short, that's a different story. But we just had this on the screen to begin. Let's go from top to bottom. Otherwise, got a trio of stocks here up over 100%. BLPH, damn, I ended up missing out on this big time, it looks like. I really had no focus on this trade whatsoever today. Now, that's not to say that we didn't call it out. I know that Rich was all over this one from the late morning himself. I ended up taking a small break, like I had said, a little under the weather. But with that in mind, though, ended up popping up pretty nicely, retesting off 4, and led to the better run from there. So broke back over 4 at this point, ran up towards 5. Now at this stage going into the close, you know, it's so sideways moving. I do like that it's closer towards the high still. It's hanging in there. I'll put this on our list to begin, but if it ends up tanking really lower from this point, I might take it off. But so far it makes the cut. Now, a stock that doesn't seem that it'll be making the cut now at this stage, I didn't realize this from this point. The UNCY stock, we were calling it out just before. Rich was calling out at the time. I'll put a new line up there, but it was about a 54,000 share iceberg order out there off of 134. 130 was a key level as well from today. And I was pretty shocked to see this make as good of a pop as it made at the time heading into the meeting, but it failed to even hit 150. It kind of just fell short of 150, ended up lower high there and a big ugly drop. I think this thing even got halted on the way down, didn't it? I didn't even realize that. Yeah, look at that. Got halted at 228, reopened up at 233. Now that's like the third or fourth halt on the day. We ended up trading the stock really well from the morning session, and it was right off that 130 level. So ended up dropping back at first from the pre-market run. Shook around a little bit, so it ended up stopping me out break even, and then as it curdled back above 134 here, my entry on this was at 135. I guess you could say the cookie crumbled well on this to where it popped up very shortly after, got halted on the way up, but a bunch of us were in that trade with myself, and then at that point, I hope all of us got out. But otherwise, I ended up getting out as it was off that 150. I know Phil did, a bunch of us did as well, but ended up dropping back down, and that's where you could see where the stock got halted to the downside. 948, next candle, or I'm sorry, 949, next candle, 954. So this right here is your 5-minute down halt here. So that's where you got to be careful. History could repeat itself, not just in the potential buying that you'd want to see, like I teach, but otherwise, what happens if it goes against you? Unfortunately, a big shakedown. That's not nice to see at this time of the day. So, yeah, we're going to pass on this trade now. It was fun while it lasted. And then finally, out of the oh, I guess there's another one actually that just joined the fray here. We had a trio of stocks up over 100%. I don't know what this is, SFR. Whatever. We'll check that out next. We got one more, but SESN's not looking good. It's a cheapy stock. It's not really looking that great of a chart. Well, there we go. While we're at it, come on down. SFR ended up having a big pop just out of nowhere before we started this meeting. I don't think that we had called this one out even. All right, let me check the news out on this trade. I didn't see the news out before on this thing. SFR. Of course, Benzinga's got to reload here during the meeting, of course. Let's see if we can get this up in the coming seconds. Otherwise, well, you know that we don't really trade the news as much as we trade the liquidity. So news out just for those interested. SFR filed for a registering for resale by certain selling security holders up to 9.3 million shares of Class A common stock. So, hey, normally when there's some sort of common stock offering or whatnot, there's typically a big drop off. Interesting pop here with that news in mind. But, perhaps for as much as this thing got crushed from the end of last year here, you can see on my weekly graph there, I'll switch it to a daily, but that thing took a huge hit. It could be a good short squeeze candidate, and it's already up big right now. So perhaps the question from this point is like, when is it going to dump off? At what point does this hit resistance and pull back, right? So be careful for this thing. It looks good right now, but don't let it head fake you and come back down. All right, what else we got here? AM, another stock that we're actually pretty familiar with. This thing looks like the perfect Fausto flag. Ended up topping off right around 7-ish, and then made the big pop today. So, right now ended up running up as high as like near 12. Pulled back a little bit for right now, but we'll see if it could build a little support. I don't mind slipping this just on our list here too. Kind of like the BLPH will be probably near the middle or near the bottom by it all. If it can hold support here, then I'll be really interested. But if this is the end of the road, a lower high perhaps from the spike up, then I'd be on the lookout there. I'd look for something else moving better. BBIO, well, it's not moving better, that's for sure. This thing is completely dead. TRKA, bit of a cheapie, but nice move right now. Keep it in mind maybe for later. Come back to it if I need to. Nice to see. If you're in earlier, then perfect, but keep it going otherwise. What else we got? Cala, if you're looking to roll the dice, go to the casino here this afternoon. This could be the stock for you, but that's not what I'm here for. So we're going to see what else is out there in the interim. Yeah, the S&P towards the low of the day right now. It looks like it's pretty close to Friday's closing price as support too. So if it breaks that, this thing could be really dropping off pretty steadily. The market's all together. All right, let's see if there's anything else looking good from the gainer side here right now. Got Snapchat. I saw a couple of us call out Snap earlier today. I did not even look at it once. I just know it's such a slow-moving stock, so I'm sure it was a great call at the time from a couple of us here early. But, nice move. But at this stage now, it's just completely sideways. It's basically how I know Snap to trade. So, yeah, not really my cup of tea here, Snap. Nice morning, though, if any news came out, whatever. But, yeah. All right, let's hop over to the loser side, though, seeing if there's anything just as good, if not better, from this side of the field. Got ACRS down big. It is shortable. It's kind of just laying off support here at 650, but I like the fact it's making lower highs. This stock is trading a little bit more volume of recent over the last 10, 15, 20 minutes. Some larger spikes of volume. If that dies off and we don't really see much more after that, then obviously it's not going to make as good of a move, but it's already at support again off 650. It is shortable. So this is actually a pretty good short setup right now. The retest off 650 support. So not a bad one for right now. Boyle, not really focused on that right now. ESPR, pass on this. UIS, it is easy to borrow on my platform here, and it is at the low of the day. So that part I do like this stock, but it just seems like rather slow. So if I'm comparing one to the other, if I'm comparing apples to oranges here, I think this one's a little bit more worth the opportunity. All right, Weight Watchers, WW. Is this Weight Watchers? It is. Wow, they're a $3 stock now. I mean, I guess they had to have been a $3 stock for a little while, but sheesh, we ended up following them off their IPO, and man, they got crushed. Wait for a nice short squeeze on this over time, I'd imagine. Looking at that weekly chart from like mid 2018 all the way through. I mean, I'm just saying this extremely out loud from the hip. Looking at that graph, it looks very similar to the GameStop graph before that exploded. So don't hold your breath. Trust me, it might be a long while from now, Weight Watchers here, but looking at that graph, eventually it's going to squeeze, and whatever day that will be, it's going to make for a fun day trade, that's for sure. SGMO, going to pass on that. All right, folks. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, albeit the market's kind of near the lows right now, they've been flat. So if there's anything else that looks good, type it in the chat board. If there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than that 5%. Weight Watchers earnings after the close this afternoon. Ooh, that's interesting to know. We'll trade them likely tomorrow morning then. I got 4 stocks on our main list, and I'll be really transparent with you. I'm not really too much of a fan of many of these. The ACRS is the best setup on the way down as a short. AMAM, well, all right, that's starting to build a little support, so I like that part of it. Let's see if it can keep building this off 11 and the trend off the lows here going up. Boyle going to pass on for right now, Grant. Don't have a great need for it right now, and that's okay. It's good to know that. Welcome aboard, Lois, just joining us here today on YouTube. I appreciate the shout, Lois. All right, going to check Benzinga Pro right now before we wrap up. I don't know if there's too much I missed. ETAO? Nah, not really looking good there. You got the SYM trade, not much happening on that at all. And then the BLPH, it's already on our list, but looks pretty flat. You want to start to see this bust a move pretty soon. All right, then on the way down, let me just check one or two things on the way down, actually. Check out Save, Spirit Airlines. This thing took a huge hit. So obviously fell off quite a bit earlier today, rebroke below 1690, you'll say there, 1685 perhaps even, and led to a nice drop-off. Really good short here as well for Save. I'll put this on our main list here too. Might find a couple of good shorts right now. Let me take a look. Wayfair, not even that expensive as much. I mean, this thing's all over the map in terms of price, but kind of more within our price range again. Just a little thin volume on the book. If you have Wayfair on your side list, it could be something to keep an eye on. Billy, BILI, same deal, hard to borrow on my platform this morning. And then that brings me back to AI, which again, hard to borrow for me too. If it's easy to borrow, then definitely put it on your personal main list. All right, folks. For all of that, though, just otherwise, for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, otherwise, we appreciate you sticking with us here each and every day, each and every afternoon, myself certainly. If you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me a quick email, josh@c2trading.com. Always like to post my handle there at the end of these meetings. Otherwise, though, if you wanted to just join us inside our live trading room, continue the audio commentary for this afternoon. Rich will be on the mic from 3 to 4 p.m. Otherwise, for tomorrow or the remainder of this week, go right down to the link on the green banner below the stream right there to get yourself set up. But for Leda, for Grant, Ford, Dan, Michael, and all of us just joining us, otherwise Alan and Richard included, Manuel as well. I look forward to chatting with you folks coming up. I'll be in the board up until 3:30. I'll be on a coaching call coming up with one of our students here. So I'll be chatting away with you folks. If you see something, say something. Talk to you soon.